Hello everybody, this is Mayor Mike and I am in my office at 740 Main Street, East Hartford. And today we have 7 questions that we received over the last week through the Ask the Mayor program. Question number 85, we'll get right into it, comes from Julia. And she says, I know this has been a big issue this past year. A few suggestions if the no parking signs, we're talking about Goodwin School and other schools. If no parking is not going to be enforced, is possible that metal posts, such as those used for stop signs, be placed on the curb every 4 feet so that cars can't park on the grass. Or put a rock between the sidewalk and curb so police, if they don't want to enforce the no parking, at least the cars wouldn't be parking there. And then finally, she notes that there's a ton of poison ivy along the left side of the school along the fence, and I believe this is Goodwin. That's where the tall grass is by the left side of the school. So Julia, 2 very good suggestions. 1, proactive on the parking, and 2, we need to get the poison ivy out of there. So I will forward that over to the Board of Ed to Ben Whitaker, and hopefully we get some response on both. Question number 86 comes from Danny. Can you do something about all the signs at the intersections along Forbes, especially toward the Glastonbury line? And I think if I understand the question right, Danny, you're talking about people who may have something to sell. It could be a tag sale, they could be advertising we buy houses, and they generally stand up on the back of a pickup truck and they pound a sign in on a street pole. And that's usually just above the ability of anybody to pull it down. But we'll send Public Works out there and do a quick removal of those. And again, if I understand it, Forbes Street all the way to the Glastonbury line. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Danny, and we'll be sending that over to Public Works. Question number 87 comes from Mary. Can more lighting be put in town parks to deter illegal activity? She's noticed a lot of vehicles in the parks after hours, and while she walks her dog, she can smell marijuana, and she suspects there may be sexual activity going on in the cars. Not ideal, so we've actually asked the police department to have increased enforcement. So Mary, we'll get on that, and we'll keep it, we'll keep a regular enforcement so that we hopefully deter that. As far as the lighting, we do have some lighting going in. Martin Park, as an example, based on an additional $1 million our legislative delegation has secured for us, but that'll take a little bit of time as we spec it out and so forth. So thank you to Mary for question number 87. Question number 88 comes from Brian. Can we get more of a police presence on School Street to discourage racing cars and their associated noise? Brian, I've already forwarded that to both Chief Sansom and Mac Hawkins. I certainly share your frustration on speeding. It's unfortunately all over, not all over our town, but all over the state. I just don't know what happened coming out of COVID. People are driving faster, they're not stopping, and it's reckless and somebody's gonna get hurt. We continue to enforce it. We're up almost double in terms of the moving violations, the warnings, and the tickets that we gave from a year ago, but it doesn't seem to be making a dent in it. It's kind of like shoveling sand against the tide, but we will keep at it. The second question, maybe we need to speak on this personally. You said, can we get some signs posted on School Street to prohibit the use of engine brakes in heavy trucks? Not sure what that's about. I certainly don't want to discourage the trucks from using their ability to stop. So maybe, Brian, we need to talk about that in more detail. That's question number 88. Question number 89 comes from Eddie. He said, good evening, I hope all is well. And I won't go into a long dissertation on what he says here, but he's near the Dwyer Park entrance, and there's little or no police presence here. People are playing loud music in the park, not obeying the noise ordinance, policies, or laws. Pretty much the same communication as Mary, just a different park. So Brian, or Eddie, we have actually dispatched police out and we'll be doing regular enforcement updates. Continue to call the police if you have an issue, or continue to write my office, and between the rangers that are in the parks into the evening and the police, we'll try to get this thing squared away. So thank you to Eddie for question number 89. Question number 90 comes from Martin. He would like to know who's responsible for maintaining the land behind his house. He lives on Mallard Drive, and it seems like Eversource has removed their power lines, so there's some confusion as to who owns that and who needs to maintain it. So I'm going to kick it down to my engineering department, and Martin, we should have an answer out to you shortly. That'll be a separate follow-up we'll do with you directly. And the last question comes from Chimeri, question number 91, and it's also a long one, and I'll paraphrase it. She's basically concerned. She's moved into an area of town that abuts some of the new construction that the Housing Authority is doing, and unfortunately, she's got an infestation of animals. It could be skunks, it could be raccoons, occasional mice, and the occasional, unfortunately, rat. So we're going to have the health department take a ride out to Chimeri's house, make an assessment of what is happening out there and what we could do, and to the extent that we can help Chimeri, we will. So those were questions 85 to 91. Today is Wednesday. I'm Mayor Mike. This is 740 Main Street. For next week, send your questions in to Ask the Mayor, and same time next week, we'll try to respond to them in detail. Have a great weekend, everybody.